I asked the question, if somebody is if somebody is declared competent, they can do, it's their money.
Right.
They can do whatever they want with it.
Right.
They can go out and set a match to it, sort of, the old comment. So is she not able to fulfill her wishes by leaving all that money to a dog?
Did you plan for this, or did you miss? When life demands answers you can't dismiss, will you be ready when the trumpet blows? Do you have the blueprint for life's unknowns?
Welcome.
Thanks.
You've got a great one today.
Oh yeah, this one's juicy. And there may be some people who've never heard of this person, but for a while in our life, she was very, very famous.
This was big news.
It was Leona Helmsley. Leona Helmsley, also known infamously as the Queen of Mean, was also famous for leaving a large amount of money to her dog. As per Wikipedia, Helmsley left the bulk of her estate, estimated at more than $4 billion, to the Leona M. and Harry B. Helmsley Charitable Trust. In addition to providing directly for her own dog in her will, she left separate instructions that the trust, now valued at $5 billion, be used to benefit dogs. The courts have since ruled that the trust is not legally bound to wishes separate from the trust documents. The will left her Maltese dog, Trouble, a $12 million trust fund. This sum was subsequently reduced to $2 million because $12 million was excessive to fulfill its purpose. Her choice was branded third in Fortune magazine's 101 Dumbest Moments in Business of 2007. Trouble lived in Florida with Carl Leckick, the general manager of the Helmsley Sandcastle Hotel. Leckick stated that $2 million would pay for the dog's maintenance for more than 10 years. The annual $100,000 for full-time security, several death threats against the dog had been received, $8,000 a year for grooming, and $1,200 for food. Leckick was paid $60,000 annual guardianship fee. Trouble died at age 12 in December of 2010, at which time the remainder of the funds reverted to the charitable trust. Although Helmsley's wishes were to have the dog interred with her in the mausoleum, New York state law prohibits interment of pets in human cemeteries, and the dog was subsequently cremated. So, Ron, what do you think about that story?
Well, it continues on.
Well, it does. I mean, she had 4 grandchildren. 2 of them each received $5 million in trust and $5 million in cash under the condition that they visit their father's gravesite once each calendar year. Their signing a registration book would prove that they had visited the grave. Her other 2 grandchildren, Craig and Megan Panzerer, received nothing. So obviously this went through court quite a bit. There was a Manhattan surrogate court judge in 2008 that ruled Helmsley was mentally unfit when she executed her will. Roth reduced the $12 million trust fund for the pet to $2 million. Of the $10 million originally bequeathed to Trouble, $4 million was awarded to the charitable trust and $6 million was awarded to Craig and Megan, who had been disinherited by Helmsley. The ruling requires the Panzerers to keep silent about their dispute with their grandmother and to deliver to the court any documents they have about her. She left $15 million for her brother Alvin, and Helmsley also left $100,000 to her chauffeur.
So again, I asked the question, if somebody is declared competent, they can do, it's their money.
Right.
They can do whatever they want with it.
Right.
They can go out and set a match to it, sort of, the old comment. So is she not able to fulfill her wishes by leaving all that money to a dog?
Well, okay. The judge ruled after Leona's death, right, that she had been incompetent. So I wonder about what proof, what evidence was presented, what other behaviors of hers was brought to light, and other things that we're not privy to in this particular story here. I would think that if you're going to create a will that has such an unusual provision as leaving $12 million to a dog, and by the way, the dog can't sign checks, the dog cannot open a bank account, There's no way to have a trust for an animal without a human guardian selected. And Leona picked one of her employees to do that. And he got paid 60 grand a year to look after a little dog. And so that's fascinating how that all came to be. We don't know the background on that one. So about competence, let's go back to that. I think if you're going to do something really unusual, maybe you should have a doctor that says, oh, yes, you're competent. Like, go get examined and get a doctor's letter that says, yes, I am competent to make my own decisions.
If you bring this to, obviously the attorney wrote this.
Somebody
attorney,
wrote it, yeah.
somebody wrote it.
Yes.
Is it, and again, we're not attorneys. Is it the attorney to go, no, I refuse to write that? Or that's
a really good question. And if you are an attorney, please feel free to comment below.
I would love
What happens when a client says, I want to do this thing. I'm going to leave my money to my dog. Now, in California, it so happens, and Governor Schwarzenegger at the time signed it into law, we actually do have pet trusts.
Yes, I do know.
But usually a pet trust might have $10,000 or $50,000 in it. It doesn't have $2 million in it necessarily. It might. I know there are people that want to keep their dogs in the standards to which they are accustomed. And there are probably also a lot of animal charities that would love to have that money to be able to apply to lots of animals and to deal with our really being overrun by having so many pets that are not cared for, right? Our pounds, our centers, our humane societies are so full.
So you could write it, I leave $2 million to trouble. Upon trouble's passing, whatever's left in the trust can go to the Humane Society.
Sure. I mean, yes.
That would seem logical, reasonable.
Sure. And though Mr. Lekic said it's $100,000 a year, it looks like he got the job somewhere around 2007 and the dog died in 2010. So you're right. Where's the balance of those funds? What happens to the rest of that money? And that also means that Mr. Lekic has to account for how he's spending money on the animal. And I find it fascinating that food is just $1,200 a year. And there's security for the dog and I guess for the guardian looking after him and for grooming, but I don't see medical expenses here. I don't see vet bills. There's some things here I would think I would see in terms of the actual document.
Because again, with a pet, if it's at the end of its life or lifespan, do you spend $30,000 just like you would on a person? Cost benefit analysis of that surgery to keep that dog alive.
Well, maybe it depends on how badly the guardian needs the money. I mean, wouldn't the guardian lose his job when the dog dies?
Exactly.
So wouldn't he want to keep that dog alive?
Exactly.
And when the pet trust first came out, I had a bunch of questions. Like, what constitutes a death certificate for an animal? And by the way, I recognize that people really love their pets. I get that. It's a member of the family. Oh my gosh, you call yourselves pet parents or your furry baby. I get that stuff. But actually in the law, your pet is an item of ownership. It's a chattel. This is something that you own. You're responsible for what it does. If it bites somebody else, you are responsible financially, right, for dealing with that. So the dog itself cannot transact on any of these funds. But here's another couple of my questions. So what's a death certificate constitute? What about pedigreed animals? Like Fido looks like this, right? Well, its progeny looks exactly like the first Fido, Fido 2. I actually heard a story where their microchip was removed from one dog and put into the next. And for someone like me, not an expert, and I love watching the kennel show once a year, Westminster, it's fun, right? But, how would I know this is not the same dog?
Oh.
Right? I mean, some cats can live beyond 20 years. I would imagine some dogs can live beyond 20 years. A small dog can live a little bit longer than a large dog,
And
right?
birds.
Right?
Birds can live a long.
Oh, birds can live over 100 years, right? So it's now that we're getting into pets and talking about how to deal with the pets, who's going to take care of your macaw when it's only 50 years old and you die? The bird has another 50 years to go. And the bird has attached itself to you. I mean, really, birds are such an interesting pet. I had a cockatoo for a while in my life. He got it in the divorce. And so, that bird attached itself to me. He's the one who bought it. He's the one who wanted to have he had this fantasy about Beretta. So, so here we have this grand crested cockatoo, beautiful animal, entertaining, very sweet, love peanut butter. I mixed her vitamins in with her peanut butter.
You may
Love
have to
that.
mention what Beretta.
Oh, sorry. Look up an old TV show.
And he's an interesting character unto himself.
Oh yeah, there's
a show for you.
Yeah. The lead actor in that show ended up being imprisoned for murdering somebody. So, but anyway, for those of us who grew up on television with the individual detective story,
the 70s.
Yeah, he had a pet bird, and a lot of guys thought that was really cool. So the point is that when you have an animal, you have to think about, if I cannot care for this animal, if I cannot take it for walks, or I can't clean its cage, or I can't maintain and do these things for the animal, who is going to do it? And should they be compensated for doing it? Some people might say, oh, I'll take your dog if you can't take care of it anymore. But where's that juncture? When does that happen? I had a client who was 94 years old when I became her trustee. And her dog and cat, neither were potty trained. So being not housebroken makes it very, very difficult to transfer the animal to another party. And so I had to find rescue agencies that were willing to take these animals who are not housebroken and maybe too mature to learn how to be. And you can imagine her house. You can imagine how filthy her house was.
Oh.
And so we had to move her out of the house for a month. And we took her to a really nice place that she stayed at with a caregiver. And we got that place cleaned from top to bottom. And then we were able to move her back in.
And there are, I mean, again, here we're in San Diego County. I do know some of the humane societies, the Rancho Coastal from top of mind. They do have special programs for senior dogs and seniors that cannot care for their dog. So reach out to those organizations wherever you may be to see if that's a program they may have specially for your loved one who can't manage their dog care anymore.
The best I could do was kennel the animals at their vet. So they had a veterinarian relationship that she had already had for many years with these particular animals. So I took the animals to the vet, and then I searched for rescue companies. Independent Trustee Alliance is a proud nonprofit sponsor of Plan for This. If you are considering serving as a trustee, please visit trusteealliance.com to learn more about this complex and sometimes overwhelming job. trusteealliance.com. Plan for This thanks the Estate Sale Warehouse for all their amazing service and support. Entire home cleanouts, inventory, appraisal, auctions, sale of fine art and classic cars. Learn more at estatesalewarehouse.com.
Well, going back to the Miss Helmsley story, disinheriting family members. That's a big part of this storyline.
Well, like you said.
What advice would you have for those that just want to cut them out?
Talk with your attorney about no contest language. Talk to your attorney about how that actually works, because honestly, you can decide who gets your money. She could have given it all to charity, and no one would really have anything to say about it because it's her money to do what she wants with. In this particular case, we see that her competence was under question. So it's possible that you and your attorney, when you talk about it, you can also talk about how will these people respond. Did you promise them that they would receive money earlier, and now you're saying that they're not going to get any? We have to be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves. Do we ever expect to have a relationship with this person? Well, not after we die, right? So we have our foot in the stirrup. We're heading off planet forever. And then we drop this bomb behind us. Is that really how we want to be? And she was known for being a very mean person.
Right. She had a story.
And so the fact that these family members from whom she was estranged got anything out of it took years in the courts for that to happen. So my feeling is, on the one hand, yes, it's your money to do with whatever you wish. It's yours. At the same time, how do you want to be remembered? I mean, what's your legacy? What will people be talking about after you leave? How mean you are? Is that really, it's not what I want. And it may be what Leona wanted exactly.
I'm going to ask a question that I would love to get the attorneys to weigh in on, and obviously you weigh in on, is Leona comes to the attorney has a sense of uh, cognitive decline, but they don't, not that I'm aware of, they don't do assessments.
Well, they kind of have to. An attorney needs to know that they're dealing with someone who has capacity. And this, by the way, Ron, gets discussed all the time. The attorney listservs, attorney meetings, probate section meetings, and so on. Capacity is a continuous question and discussion. It's not nothing. So today, I feel good. I'm clear. I know what I want. I go see my attorney. And the attorney says, well, you're asking for things that could be challenged in court. I can write down what you want. I'm your attorney. I'm going to sign this, right? You're going to have what you want. However, we should probably get an independent review. And that would mean another attorney is going to look at the provisions that I've asked for and talk to me and maybe make an assessment of some kind. It may say, I think it'd be really great if we had a doctor's letter that said you're competent to make these decisions. You seem really angry. You seem like you've got a lot going on. Let's just be sure that years from now, this won't be assailed, that this can't be attacked. And it takes a brave attorney to say that.
Because this was attacked, so...
It was. And she might have received the advice we're talking about. We don't know.
Right.
And the first attorney might have said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have my license threatened because I put some... it's possible that an attorney could be sued for malpractice because they allowed something like this to happen. But wow, we're talking about a really gray area between sovereignty. I get to decide what I want to do with my money, and me just being really mean and cruel to other people and holding it in front of them and taking it away.
So control from the grave that's just not the right way to go?
Again, I have to ask, how do you want to be remembered? Is there anyone you love? Is there anyone you love more than yourself? In my case, whatever I leave behind, as little or as much as that might be, I would like to see my family thrive. I would like them to have the support that they need to thrive. And so in my thinking about them as I know them, which by the way is only one facet, right? I can only see what you show me. We don't really know everything about another person, even your own children. But in terms of the way that I've considered my planning, I want them to think of me as having been thoughtful and considerate and loving them. So I want to be known as loving from the grave, not controlling from the grave.
Good point. Loving from the grave.
Yeah, loving from the grave.
And so for those that have not dusted off their plan for even 5+ years, you may have, at that moment, you were angry at somebody, you were angry at a son, daughter, child, cousin, whatever. Maybe it's mellowed over time. Go back and reread it.
Yeah, you might really not like their spouse. Your children are perfect. It's their spouses you don't like. I mean, it can be so many different things, but you're right. A review with a cooler head, some time has elapsed. And if you're looking for a sign about when to get your estate plan done or when to revisit it, this is it. This is us. We thank you so much for joining us today and helping us talk about this. And come visit planforthis.com for more information.
And who today should we ask if they have their estate plan done?
Oh, Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo. Will you be ready when life asks, did you plan for this?
Money management and